This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
Before the break, we learned how to save money when renting a vehicle, from what type of car we rent to how we pay for it.
Yeah, but there's one question that always comes up when you're filling out the paperwork. Do you want to purchase insurance with that rental? So do you?
Well, it can often add quite a bit of money to the total cost of the rental, but if you get into an accident, then what? Well, joining us today to help us figure it all out is State Farm Insurance agent Greg Riddell of Salisbury. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So I have to, it's confusing to me. If I already have insurance, car insurance, do I need to take it out on a rental car?
Generally speaking, Lisa, the answer to the question is not necessarily. Your coverage on most auto policies are going to transfer to a car you're renting for your personal use, just like it would your own car. Now, if you don't have comprehensive and collision coverage, which would be the coverage that would repair the car itself if something happened, then you might want to look at getting something from the car rental agency to make sure you have that covered.
If I'm taking a business trip, does that change the rules?
Absolutely, Jimmy. Yeah. The point is, with business insurance, there are typically very limited extensions of coverage for that purpose from your personal car. You want to make sure that you talk to your agent, find out what those limitations might be, and if you're going to be outside those limitations, the next step is usually to talk to your company, find out what kind of policy they have and what their corporate procedures are for taking care of that.
Now, sometimes our business, well, not our business, but sometimes your business takes you out of the country. You really need to read between the lines when you rent a car in a foreign country.
There is very limited coverage typically in an auto insurance policy for traveling outside the country. For instance, 50 or 75 miles into Mexico is as far as your policy is going to go. So you want to make sure that you know in advance, talk to your agent, find out what coverage you do have from your personal car, but more importantly, get in touch with the company that's setting up your rental car overseas and find out what that coverage is going to be. You want to know what your options are going to be before you get in the rental car line and there's 14 people behind you pushing you to make a decision.
So if I don't own a car, then I don't have car insurance. So then I certainly want to pick up.
Sounds like a pretty good idea.
Good idea there.
Unless you feel like paying for the car yourself if something happens to it. Unless you can afford to self-insure for that, you probably do want to have a discussion with a rental car company about what kind of coverage you can purchase. And then again, my best advice is to make sure you know before you get down there what those choices are going to be and what your options are going to be, so you don't end up buying something you may be a little more expensive than you needed.
Now, we get our car insurance settled and all that taken care of. What about our items, things that we have in the car when we rent a car?
Honestly, Lisa, with a standard homeowner's policy or a renter's policy, your personal articles are covered anywhere in the world. Now, you're going to have a fairly large deductible on that probably. If you have specific things like jewelry, expensive jewelry, or furs, golf clubs, hearing aids, anything like that that you're going to be taking on your trip, you can cover those with a personal articles policy or a personal articles floater that will give you much broader coverage, very low deductible, it's not very expensive, and you'll make sure it's covered. Of course, if you want to be perfect, have the best kind of insurance, don't take them with you in the first place.
That'd be a good way to go with it. So while we're talking vacation, we're going out of town, maybe to another country, we're talking about saving money. We need to talk to our cellular provider?
Honestly, that would be one of the first calls I would make. There's one of two outcomes if you don't talk to them first. One is you may have very high roaming charges, which are going to hit you in the wallet when you get back. Or secondly, you may get over there and find out your phone doesn't work at all because you didn't make changes to your plan to allow that. That's a problem. I tell you, the other thing I would do is I would call my bank, because your bank is going to be alert for fraud problems.
Right.
And if you're suddenly using your credit card in Europe and they didn't know you were going, you may find yourself with your accounts frozen and no ability to access your money.
And finally, it should go without saying, if you are going on vacation, be careful who you tell or where you post it.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but there's no reason to advertise to everyone on a social network that you're not going to be at your house and that it's not guarded for the next week. Help yourself, come on in.
Yeah.
That's probably a good thing to wait until you get back from vacation. You can post all those nice pictures and everything will be much happier.
Greg, thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Great
It's nice to
stuff.
meet you.
I hadn't even thought about all that
I
stuff.
know, me neither.
Now, if you'd like to read more about State Farm Insurance, about car rental insurance, or for some additional travel safety tips, all you have to do is go to DelmarvaLife.com and click on the Show tab.
Now, don't go anywhere. Delmarva Life will be right back.